She was forced to marry her husband's best friend. But what began as betrayal soon turned into a love she never saw coming. The night of the wedding felt like a cruel joke. Amelia sat quietly in her bridal gown, her trembling hands clutching the silk fabric as tears blurred her vision. She had dreamed of a love story, of walking down the aisle with the man she adored, her fiancé, Daniel. But fate had turned her world into ashes. Daniel, the man she thought she would spend her life with, had abandoned her at the altar. And before Amelia could even recover from the humiliation, a decision was forced upon her by their families. Daniel's best friend Adrian would marry her instead of right there, that very night. She couldn't believe it. Adrian, the man she barely knew, the man whose eyes always carried a storm, was suddenly her husband. As vows were exchanged under the weight of whispers and scandal, Amelia's heart broke into pieces. She felt like a prisoner trapped in a story she had never written. Later, in the silence of the grand mansion that was now her home, she sat on the edge of the bed, unable to look at Adrian. He stood by the window, his tall frame outlined by the pale moonlight. His voice, when he finally spoke, was calm but sharp. "Don't think I wanted this either," he said. "But what's done is done. We'll live as strangers under one roof, nothing more." His words cut deep. Amelia clenched her fists, her voice trembling. "You don't have to remind me. I already know I'm nothing more than a replacement." For a moment, Adrian's expression softened, but he quickly turned away, hiding the storm in his eyes. He had secrets of his own reasons why he agreed to this marriage that Amelia could not yet imagine. That night, two strangers became husband and wife, bound by circumstances neither of them chose. Amelia swore she would never forgive Daniel for abandoning her. She would never open her heart to Adrian. But life had other plans. Two strangers under one roof, one broken by betrayal, the other chained by secrets. The first days of their marriage were suffocating. Every corner reminded her she was living a life that was never meant to be hers. Adrian, on the other hand, buried himself in work. He left early in the morning and returned late at night, always avoiding unnecessary words. His silence was sharp, but it was better than the anger Amelia had feared. At dinner, they sat across from each other, the clinking of cutlery louder than any conversation. Amelia finally broke one evening. "Why did you agree to this?" she asked suddenly, her eyes locked on him. "You didn't want this marriage." "I didn't want it." "Then why?" His gaze was steady, but there was something heavy in it. "Because walking away wasn't an option. It's not for me." His words confused her, but before she could ask more, he stood and left the dining room. Amelia's frustration grew. He spoke in riddles, always hiding something, always keeping her at arm's length. Late that night, unable to sleep, Amelia wandered into the library. To her surprise, she found Adrian there, sitting in the dim glow of a lamp. He wasn't working. He was staring at an old photograph in his hand. When he noticed her, his jaw tightened. "You shouldn't be here." She ignored his cold tone and stepped closer, catching a glimpse of the photo before he could hide it. It was of Adrian and Daniel, smiling, young and carefree. Her chest tightened. "You still care about him, don't you? Even after what he did to me?" Adrian's eyes burned with emotions he didn't reveal. "It's not that simple." His voice was low, almost broken. "Daniel and I, we have a history you wouldn't understand." Amelia felt her anger rise. "Then explain it to me, because right now, all I see is that I was abandoned by the man I loved and forced to marry the man who can even look me in the eye without regret." Her words cut him, and for the first time, Adrian didn't hide his pain. "You think you're the only one living with wounds?" He turned away, his hands trembling as he gripped the edge of the desk. Amelia stared at him, stunned. That night, as she lay awake in bed, one thought wouldn't leave her mind. Adrian was hiding something. And if she ever wanted to free herself from this prison of a marriage, she needed to know what it was. In every silence, there was a secret. And in every secret, a truth that could change everything. The days slipped by, but the distance between Amelia and Adrian only grew sharper. Amelia was determined not to be a silent prisoner in this marriage anymore. She began watching him closely, his routines, his late-night phone calls, the way he avoided certain questions. One evening, as Adrian returned from work, Amelia noticed the weariness in his eyes. He looked less like a ruthless businessman and more like a man fighting battles no one else could see. Summoning her courage, she approached him in the hallway. "Adrian," she said firmly, "if we are going to live under the same roof, then I deserve the truth. What are you hiding from me?" His expression darkened, and for a moment, she thought he might walk away again. But then he sighed, his shoulders heavy. "Truth," he repeated softly, almost bitterly. Sometimes truth is the most dangerous thing. Before she could reply, a voice echoed from behind them. "Still keeping secrets, Adrian?" Amelia spun around. Her heart froze. Standing in the doorway was Daniel, the man who had abandoned her at the altar. Amelia's blood ran cold. "Daniel," she whispered, disbelief shaking her voice. Adrian's jaw clenched. His fists tightened at his sides. "What are you doing here?" Daniel smirked, his eyes flicking between the two of them. "I came to see what kind of mess you've made, Adrian. And I must say, marrying Amelia, that's bold even for you." Amelia's chest tightened with rage and pain. "How dare you show your face here after what you did to me?" Daniel's smile faltered, just for a moment. "You don't understand, Amelia. I had my reasons." But Adrian cut him off sharply. "Enough. You lost the right to explain yourself the night you left her standing alone." The tension between the two men was unbearable. Amelia stood frozen, her world spinning. The man she once loved, the man who broke her heart, and the man she was forced to marry, both locked in a silent war that she could barely comprehend. That night, as Daniel's shadow lingered in her thoughts, Amelia realized something terrifying. This marriage was not just about betrayal. It was about something bigger, something darker, rooted in the bond and the rivalry between Adrian and Daniel. And she was caught in the middle. The man who broke her heart returned with reasons, but could any excuse heal betrayal? The next morning, Amelia woke with a storm in her chest. Sleep had abandoned her, stolen by the image of Daniel standing in their home. She had dreamed of confronting him 1,000 times, of asking him why he had left her at the altar. But now that he was here, the wound felt raw all over again. At breakfast, the air was thick with silence. Adrian sipped his coffee in cold restraint, but Amelia could feel his tension. Then, without warning, Daniel appeared unconfident, almost shameless. "Good morning," he said casually, as though he hadn't torn her world apart. Amelia slammed her spoon onto the table. "You don't belong here. Say what you came to say, and then leave us in peace." Daniel's eyes softened as he looked at her. "Amelia, I didn't leave you because I stopped loving you. I left because I had no choice." Her heart twisted, anger battling against the faint echo of old feelings. "No choice," she hissed. "You humiliated me. You abandoned me in front of everyone." Don't you dare stand here and talk about love." Adrian's jaw tightened, his hand curling into a fist on the table. "She doesn't need your lies." Daniel shot him a hard look. "You think you know everything, Adrian? But the truth is, I left because I was protecting her." Amelia blinked in disbelief. "Protecting me? From what?" Daniel hesitated, his gaze flickering toward Adrian. "There are things about our families, about promises made long before you and I met. I can't explain it all now, but trust me, walking away was the only way to keep you safe." Amelia's breath caught. Promises? Families? Secrets buried in the past? Her head spun as she turned toward Adrian, who sat in silence, his eyes unreadable. "You knew," she whispered, "didn't you? You knew something about this." Adrian didn't answer right away. Finally, he stood, his voice sharp. "This conversation is over. Daniel, if you value what's left of your dignity, you'll stay away from her." Daniel rose too, his eyes burning. "You can try to keep the truth buried, Adrian, but one day she'll see who you really are." Amelia's heart pounded as she watched the two men once best friends, now enemies locked in a war she didn't understand. And deep down, she realized the most terrifying part. Neither of them was telling her the full truth. Sometimes the truth doesn't free you, it chains you tighter. Amelia couldn't breathe. The walls of the mansion felt like they were closing in, suffocating her with secrets she couldn't untangle. Daniel's words kept echoing. "I left because I was protecting you." Protecting her from what? And why had Adrian looked away when she demanded answers? That night, when Adrian was in his study, Amelia wandered the halls of the grand estate, her hands brushing against the cold stone walls. She found herself drawn toward the old library, a room she rarely entered. The air inside was thick with dust, but something about the silence pulled her deeper. Her eyes roamed the shelves until they landed on a leather-bound journal with a crest embossed in gold. The same crest she'd seen on Adrian's family documents. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. The first few pages were filled with contracts, alliances, business mergers, promises made between families generations ago. But then, in the middle, one page made her blood run cold. If Amelia Rosewood is not married into the Blackwell family by her 21st year, the inheritance and estates will be seized. To secure this bond, Adrian Blackwell will assume the role of husband if Daniel cannot fulfill it. Her heart dropped. She was no longer just a woman who had been abandoned at the altar. She was a pawn. Her marriage, her future, her very freedom had been written into an agreement she never knew existed. A tear slipped down her cheek as the truth burned into her soul. Adrian hadn't married her out of kindness or even love. He had married her because he had to. Amelia. She froze at the sound of Adrian's voice. He was standing in the doorway, his figure shadowed by the dim light. His eyes flicked to the journal in her hands, and for the first time, she saw panic flash across his face. "You knew," she whispered, her voice trembling. "All this time you knew." "My life was never minute. It was an agreement, a deal." Adrian stepped forward, his voice low, almost pleading. "Amelia, listen to me. Yes, the contract exists, but my choice to marry you wasn't only about that." She laughed bitterly through her tears. "Then tell me what it was about, because right now, all I see is betrayal. From you, from Daniel, from everyone." Adrian's jaw tightened. I tried to protect you from this. Daniel tried to. But now that you know, you must understand. Walking away isn't an option, not for either of us. Amelia's pulse raced. Why not? His eyes locked with hers, burning with something darker than love. Because if you leave me, Amelia, they'll come for you. I won't be able to stop them. The room fell into silence. Amelia clutched the journal to her chest, torn between fear, anger, and the faintest flicker of something she wished she didn't feel. The way her heart still beat faster when Adrian looked at her. The people who claim they're protecting you are often the ones keeping you caged. Amelia couldn't sleep that night. Adrian's words echoed in her head. If you leave me, they'll come for you. Who were they? And why was her life tangled in a contract she never signed? She needed answers, and she knew there was only one person who could give them. The next morning, under the excuse of visiting the nearby chapel, Amelia slipped away from the Blackwell estate. Her heart pounded as she walked quickly down the cobblestone streets, pulling her cloak tighter around her face. She had sent a single note, just one line, to the man she once loved. Meet me where it all began. The old rose garden on the edge of town still stood. Though the flowers had long withered, there waiting was Daniel. For a moment, Amelia froze. His face hadn't changed. Still strong, still the same eyes that once promised her forever. But now, there was guilt carved into every line. Amelia, Daniel said softly, almost like a prayer. Her breath hitched. Why, Daniel? Why did you leave me on our wedding day? Was it all just a lie? Stepped closer, his voice rough with regret. No, I loved you, I still do. But you don't understand the power at play here. That marriage contract, your family's legacy, was cursed long before we were even born. She frowned, clutching the edge of her cloak. Cursed? What are you talking about? Daniel's eyes darkened. The Rosewoods and the Blackwells have been bound by blood and money for generations. Your parents agreed that you would marry into the Blackwell line to keep the families tied. But when I tried to step away, when I thought love could be enough to defy them, they threatened you. They threatened your life. Amelia shook her head, tears burning her eyes. So you abandoned me to save me? Daniel's hands trembled as he reached for hers, stopping just before touching. I thought Adrian would protect you. I thought he could give you safety in ways I never could. But if he's kept the truth from you, then maybe I was wrong. Her chest tightened. Torn between the man who had broken her heart and the man who now claimed to hold it prisoner. Daniel, she whispered, her voice trembling. What aren't you telling me? What's Adrian hiding? Daniel's gaze flickered toward the shadows of the garden, his jaw tightening. Adrian didn't just marry you to honor the contract. He married you because a sharp crack split the air. Amelia gasped as a bullet shattered the stone wall beside them. Daniel grabbed her hand, pulling her down behind the fountain. They've found us, he hissed. Amelia, run. Her pulse roared in her ears. Someone was hunting them, someone who didn't want her to learn the truth. For the first time, Amelia realized this wasn't just about love or betrayal. This was about survival. When love collides with danger, every heartbeat could be the last. The sound of footsteps thundered through the abandoned rose garden. Amelia's breath came in shallow bursts as Daniel pulled her deeper into the shadows. Bullets struck the stone walls around them, sending shards of marble and dust flying. Who are they? She whispered, her voice trembling. Daniel's jaw tightened. The Blackwell Syndicate. They didn't T wants you to know the truth because you read more than just a wife in their story. You're the key to breaking the blood contract. Amelia's mind spun. A syndicate? A blood contract? It sounded like a nightmare, but the bullets slicing through the air made it all too real. Suddenly, a black car screeched to a halt outside the garden gates. The doors burst open and armed men in dark suits swarmed in. Just when Amelia thought it was over, another figure stepped from the car. Adrian. His presence silenced everything around her. He didn't look surprised to find her with Daniel. He looked furious. "Amelia," Adrian said, his voice sharp but trembling beneath the surface. "Get in the car. Now." Daniel stepped forward, placing himself between them. "She deserves the truth. You can't keep her locked in your cage forever." Adrian's eyes narrowed, his fists clenched at his sides. "And you think running into gunfire is better? You nearly got her killed." The men behind Adrian lowered their weapons at his signal, but the tension was unbearable. Amelia looked between them, two men bound by loyalty once, now enemies because of her. "Stop," she cried, her voice echoing. "I don't care about your secrets, your fights, your syndicate. I just want to know who I really am in all of this. Why me? Why my marriage? Why does everyone act like I'm some kind of weapon?" Silence. Even the guards seemed frozen by her outburst. Finally, Adrian stepped forward, his gaze locking onto hers. His voice was lower now, almost broken. "Because you are the last Rosewood heir," he said, "and the one person alive who can destroy everything the Blackwells built. That's why I had to marry you. To protect to keep you from realizing your power." The world tilted beneath Amelia's feet. Her marriage, her lost love, the betrayal was all bigger than she ever imagined. Daniel's hand brushed hers, steadying her. "You see, Amelia, they fear you. If you don't choose a side soon, they'll destroy you." Her heart hammered in her chest. Between two men, between truth and lies, between safety and freedom, she finally realized her choice wasn't about love anymore. It was about destiny. In the end, love is not about who claims you. It's about who stands beside you when the world falls apart. Amelia stood frozen, her entire world collapsing and rebuilding within a single breath. She was the last Rosewood heir, a bride by force, pawn in a dangerous game. But as she looked at Adrian and Daniel, two men bound by their own truths, she realized something. For the first time, she wasn't just someone's wife or someone's promise. She was her own. "Enough," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I won't be your cage, your protection, or your weapon. I'll decide who I am and who I love." Adrian's stormy eyes softened for the first time. Beneath the iron mask, Amelia saw the man who had sacrificed his own freedom to keep her alive. Daniel's gaze burned with regret, his love as raw as the day he had walked away to protect her. The garden fell silent as Amelia stepped forward, her gown brushing against the cracked stone. She looked at Adrian first. "You married me because you had no choice," she said softly. "But somewhere in this prison you cared. You shielded me when you didn't have to." Adrian swallowed hard, his jaw tight, as if every word she spoke was breaking him open. Then she turned to Daniel. "And you," her voice cracked, "you left me when I needed you most. But I finally understand. You thought sacrifice was love. You thought distance would keep me safe. But love isn't running away. Love is staying." Tears slipped down Daniel's face, and for once he had no defense. Amelia's heart ached, but it also felt lighter. She finally saw the truth. Her hand lifted slowly, and she reached for Adrian. A sharp breath escaped him as her fingers slid into his, fragile yet certain. His grip closed around hers, not like a cage, but like an anchor. Daniel looked away, his shoulders heavy with loss, but also a strange peace.
Hey.
He finally understood Amelia wasn't his to save anymore. The men from the syndicate shifted uneasily, waiting for orders. But Amelia's voice rose with strength she didn't know she had. "I am Amelia Rosewood Blackwell," she declared, "and I will not be a pawn in your wars. If you want me silenced, you'll have to kill me. But if you truly serve this family, you'll respect the woman at its center." The power in her voice left them stunned. For the first time, Adrian wasn't the one giving commands. Amelia was. And in that moment, she was no longer the bride forced into marriage, no longer the girl abandoned at the altar. She was a woman who had chosen her fate and her love. Adrian leaned close, his forehead brushing hers, his voice low and rough. "You've turned my world upside down, Amelia, and I swear, I'll spend the rest of my life proving that I just love you because I had to. I love you because I can't live without you." Tears slipped down her cheeks as she whispered, "Then don't ever let me go." The night was still dangerous, the future uncertain. But for the first time, Amelia didn't feel trapped. She felt free in the arms of the man she had once hated, but now couldn't imagine life without. And as the garden lay in silence, Amelia realized the truth about destiny. It wasn't written by contracts or bloodlines. It was written by the choices she made. Ava she claimed as her own.